And with that, it starts streaming. And it says connecting. And we are up and running. So, ladies and gentlemen, the popcorn is hot, the beer is cool, and it's time to watch another attempt of Elon Musk to blow up $1 billion or so of taxpayers' money. Let's just see if I actually can I shift that? Whatever. Right. So yeah. This is what, the fourth attempt now, and yeah, Musk having just successfully crashed Tesla, and now wanting his $50 or so billion bonus. It's like 10 times the rest of the company put together, and I'm like, seriously, dude? And this is just as they're firing like 20%. Yeah, it doesn't make it past hot staging. Okay, I'm glad to see everything is working, you know. Streaming is not my forte. So, yeah, where were we? Yes, they're up for their fourth launch of Starship in, I think it's like about an hour's time. The stream is going to start sort of shortly. And before coming on here, I was watching a little bit of the Everyday Astronauts stream. Apparently he's done some interview with Musk. Yeah, a little fuzzy on the details. I don't cover this stuff in detail because you don't know the details to know that SpaceX is going bankrupt in a couple of years. They can't burn money like this, and the company doesn't actually make any money as it stands. We'll come on to the details in a second. And so I'm listening to him saying that, yeah, the earliest it will fly people is in like 3 or 4 years. And it's like, yeah, okay, 3 or 4 years. So they're burning $2 billion a year. So you need another $10 billion before you can do anything with this. And their contract for going to the moon with NASA was $3 billion. They've had 2 of it so far. And again, what I could tell from this interview that the Everyday Astronaut had with Musk is that no, today is just a test. You know, not really expecting to get too much out of it. And it's like, yeah, you're burning money so quickly here that yeah, success is not what should be expected tomorrow. Anyway, so I'm here to give a little pushback to the Musk fandom. And you will notice in the background here, I have the flight plan that Elon Musk put out for the Dear Moon mission. You see, in 2017, they announced that Starship was going to fly around the moon, taking its first paying customers by 2023. Of which the Everyday Astronaut was one, who is now in sort of shame and embarrassment taking down the video where he was so happy that he was actually going to go to the moon. And it is, when you go back and watch the Musk video, it is so half-baked. So half-baked. I mean, the intro is like Kerbal Space Program, and he's sort of showing this off. This is how Starship's going to work, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on to the flight plan, which is what you have on the screen. Is it that side? Behind me. No, that side, sorry. Wrong screen. So there is the flight plan. And you'll notice that the flight plan for... Let's see if I actually get a mouse working on this. Yeah, okay, excellent. Right. So you'll notice that when they were proposing all of this in the Dear Moon mission, you know, announced 2018, they were going to have shortlisted crew selection by 2022, and in 2023, training preparation and liftoff, where Starship was going to fly to the moon without the need to refuel. And here we are in 2024, and Starship, they've got it on a suborbital trajectory where it gets to its suborbital trajectory completely empty. And, you know, if you watch some of Musk's fluff about this. He says, yeah, they've had 3 missions so far. First one was a cataclysmic failure where everything went wrong. The engines failed, the rocket failed to blow up when it was meant to blow up, didn't separate, didn't make it to orbit, and the SpaceX feed, they were happily reading it all off the script of what was meant to happen, max Q, when it definitely was anything but, and so on and so forth. The second mission, they the first stage got to stage separation, then that blew up spectacularly without needing the flight termination system. Quite impressive. And the second stage went on and blew up. And Musk says there that it would have actually made it to orbit, but they put more fuel on it to simulate a payload. But the thing is, I've since gone back and looked at the fuel indicators, and that's just complete and utter bullshit. So you can actually match the velocities with the Flight 3 with Flight 2, and Flight 3 basically burns off all its fuel and gets to just about the right velocity. Flight 2 stops burning its fuel. So, anyway, and Flight 3, we got to see that inside the Starship there was literally nothing. Literally nothing. It was a completely empty shell. Musk has gone on to say it could, in principle, take 50 tons to orbit, which is half of what they said it would take. And I think this is a very optimistic 50 tons. But even if it was 50 tons, it turns out, well, okay, now you're in terms of the number of engines you have to burn to get something to orbit, it's not actually that much better than, say, the Falcon 9, which kind of works. But, there is this perception that, SpaceX is it was the one that I got the pushback on the most, the earliest, in, I think it was 2016, where I was saying, the thing about reusability in space is an economic argument, not a technological one. The technology of actually sort of burning the rock. There's one tricky thing that you actually need to do, which is relight your engines and slow down. But basically, it is the problem of relighting your engines. The whole guidance thing, these are not actually that tricky. In the, you just take a look at your typical GPS drone these days. They will quite happily track things. They will come back and they'll land in exactly the same spot. With actually getting this to actually land on a point, they're just PIDs, sort of. The thing that is technically challenging is relighting the engine and getting all the rates right such that it doesn't go boom when it hits the ground. But the real problem there is economics. That the satellites typically cost about 10 times as much as the launches. So, whoop-de-doo. Oh, you made the launches much cheaper. Whatever. I mean, it's operationally insignificant in the actual cost of making the satellites. So, even if you could do it, it's not... And you have to do all of that. The thing about, if you launch a rocket once, if there is an extra tier of development that you have to go through to get it to reuse, and also it has to be technically more complicated and so forth to actually be a reusable vehicle. And if you're not doing that many of them, and the launch market's not that big, then it's never really going to be economically viable to do it. And Starship is a solution to there is no market for launching 100 tons to low Earth orbit. Right? So it's kind of dead on arrival there. The second thing is there's definitely no market for rapidly launching lots of stuff to low Earth orbit. I partially take that back. There is only one, and that's satellite constellations, like, say, for instance, Starlink. But beyond that, it's got no functional use. And Starlink, they recently put out something saying that they were profitable if you didn't count the cost of launching the rockets, which that's not so good. Anyway, so where were we? Yes. The 2018, you go back and watch this video again, and it's hilariously badly thought out. First of all, it can fly to the moon, Starship, without even needing to refuel. No. And then secondly, when it's on its way to the moon, all these solar panels pop out of it, which is very easy to do in computer-generated graphics. Not so easy to do when... where exactly were those solar panels stored again? Anyway, so yeah, from what I can gather, the expectation from the SpaceX team is that this time they're only really trying to test the heat shield. The last time they wanted to do the fuel propellant transfer, which was the most vapid test you can imagine. So, all right, okay, we're going to try and do technical stuff. So, we are going to go over to drawing. Excellent. And I need my pen. Where's my... there's my pen. Excellent. So do we work? Yeah, right. So Starship basically has a big tank and a header tank. And what they apparently did is they had some liquid in the header tank and a tube that goes down here. And obviously, if you open up the valve here, there's gas pressure in this. It will blow some stuff out, but as you progressively blow the stuff out, once the gas pressure in both of these tanks is equal, there'll be no more propellant transfer. And that's kind of your problem with trying to do this stuff in space is you need to be able to transfer all of this, not just basically have blow some of the liquid from one to the other. That's not technically challenging, and that's functionally useless in terms of orbitally refueling stuff. So if it was me doing this, because I actually work quite a lot with liquid transfers in vacuums. Turns out if you want stuff that's air sensitive, you have to do it under vacuum, and your gas pressure is a fairly decent way to drive these things around, and you don't need much in the way of gas pressure to actually transfer the liquids from one to the other. But what you do need is gravity, because once you actually, if you're in a gravity field, it's dead easy. All the stuff sort of sits at the bottom here because of gravity. You stick a tube in there, that's easy enough, and you just increase the pressure in here, and the liquid blows out. Boom. There's your orbital refueling. But so you do have the problem of, if you're not going to get your liquid to stick down at the bottom like that with gravity, how are you going to do it? Well, the first one is you need to maybe spin the vehicle up a bit. Comes with problems of its own. How do you get these things to stick together? If you're spinning a circular vehicle like this, the liquid's going to sit on the outside like this. Or the other way that you can do it is basically capillary action. Capillary action. Surface tension holds things together, so you get some sort of thing like that, and in zero gravity all the fuel is floating around like that, and you have some sort of hedgehog, sort of spiky wire hedgehog or something, and when the liquid collides with it, it sticks to it because of the surface tension, and then maybe you can suck it out like that. SpaceX did nothing even remotely as sophisticated as any of these things, and it's not far off just basically opening a valve in space. It was functionally useless for any of the refueling things they're going to have to do down the line. And then they came to opening their cargo bay door for launching their Starlink satellites, and apparently that was an absolute disaster, and went nowhere, didn't shut the door properly afterwards. And the other thing that I found out that was actually quite interesting, other than the comically bad thing that whilst watching the SpaceX stream afterwards, they just casually don't mention whatsoever that whilst the ship is in flight, it's out of control. It's it's helplessly tumbling through space. And they're happily reading off their script about how, the heat tiles will protect the Starship while it's re-entering. And it's like, yeah, but it's spinning and it's got no way to control itself. Now, I've since seen that they say they had a thruster stuck or something, which, again, these things, they... Can I get a timer for the launch? I'm a boomer. I can try, but anyway, where was I? I've forgotten now. Multitasking. Right. Oh, we're at 32 minutes apparently. Really? That might mean that if I hit a refresh on this boy, we might actually have something. And watch. And apparently, yeah, there is actually something happening.
Developed, and the first design of a rocket that is capable of making life multiplanetary.
Starship will allow us to land humans on the moon again after more than half a century.
Right. Let's kill the audio. I need to kill my audio. I can hear it. You can't. Right. So they're talking about landing people on Mars. And it's such a hard no. I mean, and they're quite away from fueling this thing up anyway. So the reason it's such a hard no is, making a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. They're talking about that, and they can't even get it to orbit. And we've got a timer. We have 32 minutes on the clock. But the reason it's so stupid is you might have remembered that some time ago I busted this thing called NEOM, the line. They were going to build this city in the desert in the shape of a line. And they recently scaled back the line to basically the dot. It was going to be 100 kilometers long. Now it's going to be 1 kilometer long. And at that point, if you can't build a city in the desert, you have zero chance. Well, they're launching it 31 minutes early. No, I think this is the previous launch. So if you can't build a city in the desert, and Musk certainly doesn't have the resources to build a city, right? And he's talking about building a city on Mars. He doesn't have the ability to go to Mars. He doesn't have the ability to build a city. And all of these SpaceX people and their fanboys is like, nope. He's going to make it happen because of his great success in not managing to get it to a stable, to not getting it to spin in orbit and not getting it to land. So this is the last one when it was going down, and apparently the flight termination system, lit up a few engines, and then blew up. Incidentally, I'm a sort of casual observer of these things. I notice little things like, your rocket is out of control, which seems to be beyond the expertise of SpaceX or a gazillion of their other commenters. Is it just me, or do they look a little more sad and depressed every time I see these streams? Like, they know this job isn't going to go on much longer. Maybe it's just me. So someone's just mentioned the Roadster, and but whilst you're looking at that, I'm going to take a quick recap. I'm going to scroll the clock back to 2016, and it's gone all dark on the monitor. That doesn't seem right. Okay, there we go. Excellent. 2016, Musk is riding high. He has the best sports car on the planet, which was going to be ready in a year or two. And it was going to have the fastest acceleration, the best range, and everything. And in 2016, they were just about to unveil the Tesla Semi, which was going to completely revolutionize trucking and transport on the planet. It was going to be 100 times more safe than a human driver, more economical than any other truck, better than rail. And then they announced they were going to have the Cybertruck with its nuclear explosion-proof glass, which was going to revolutionize trucking, pickup trucks forever. And they were going to have full self-driving that was going to turn their cars into money printing machines. Musk had just invented the Hyperloop, which was going to revolutionize intercity transport, and he was digging tunnels that was going to make transport at 150 miles per hour possible under every city on the planet. It was going to completely revolutionize transport within cities. And they were going to have their first tourists flying around the moon within 8 years, by 2023. And they were going to be landing men on Mars in 2024. Yeah, I mean, looking back, it's kind of remarkable to think that anyone took any of this seriously then, or that they still, take it seriously now. But the irony is, and this is kind of the reason I'm here, there is an attention economy. Right, the reason that everyone was so happy to print these stories about how eccentric billionaire was doing all of this just for the benefit of mankind. He didn't care about the money. He didn't care about his $56 billion bonus or any of that sort of thing. He was just doing it for the benefit of civilization. That's your first warning label. I mean, that's just such a glowing red neon sign. It's no, Sam Bankman-Fried. He didn't care about the money. He was just doing it for philanthropy, or Elizabeth Holmes just doing it for philanthropy, or it's yeah. When we come to the warning labels of take everything this person says with intense skepticism, it's when they're a businessman claiming that they're doing it for philanthropy. Anyway, so here we are. And they're on their fourth attempt to do a suborbital trajectory. Which side do we need to look at? Yeah, there we go. Their fourth attempt to do a suborbital trajectory. This is kind of like the space shuttle blowing up all of the space shuttles that ever existed to not make it to orbit. That's kind of where we're at. And they were meant to be going around the moon, what was it, last year? Yeah, with the Dear Moon mission. And so on the Apollo scale, Apollo 4 tested the big-ass rocket and shook down basically all the components of the rocket. On its maiden flight, it did bloody well. Apollo 8 was the one that took people around the moon for the first time. And that was a ballsy thing to do back then because, first time stuff wasn't quite as reliable as it is. And the calculations, you had to do most of the calculations by hand back then, which adds a little more skin to the game. Nowadays, your pocket calculator can do these sorts of calculations. Pocket calculator. Boomers will remember what they were. Anyway, so the irony is that, I've been pointing all this stuff out as bullshit for years. And for years, I've had people telling me that I was just doing it for the attention, whereas the exact opposite is true. It's like the people who the fluffers, the enablers, the fanboys. They were the ones who were doing it for the attention, for being seen as the noble people who just wanted to support this guy who wanted to fly tourists around the moon. And when you actually go back and watch the original video, Musk says this one guy wanted to fly around the moon, made a material contribution to the development of the rocket. So thus far, they had one customer for Starship, and they delivered nothing. So, yeah. And when you take a look at Starship, not only did it fly nothing to space, I had always assumed that it would be pressurized. And the reason you pressurize tubes is like shaking up beer can or something. Yeah, the beer can gets very stiff as you put pressure on the inside. And that's good if you've got... tubes are big and floppy. You take the pressure out of a beer can, it becomes very floppy and soft. And so when you come to try and re-enter the atmosphere with something like this, big and floppy is not good, because you need heat tiles on the outside of this thing, and the heat tiles are rigid, brittle, and inflexible. So I had always assumed that it was going to be pressurized. And then you take a look at the third flight where they show you what's on the inside. I'll bet you dollars to donuts we don't see what's on the inside this time. You see, I think people from SpaceX actually take a look at the criticisms that they're getting, that they're flying an empty ship to space, and it's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be showing people this. But I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, the other thing that you get from looking at the inside of the Starship is it's got holes in it. Right, as the ship is spinning, you can see the light coming through the holes. Right, there are holes in the outside of the ship. So now you've got a big problem. You've got a big floppy tube. How on earth is this thing going to be rigid as it re-enters the atmosphere? Because as it re-enters, it's going to get squished. It's a giant thin metal tube. It's a supersized Coke can. This is going to struggle when it dropped on its side. It'll just collapse. And so if you take a look, there is a giant braced metal bar that basically goes across the tube, which is to give it some structural rigidity, but obviously weighs quite a lot. And yeah, I suppose I should have pulled some of these images up. But anyway, you can go back and take a look at it. When you get the view of the inside of the Starship, there is a giant metal bar that basically goes across the middle of the Starship. Yeah. Elon needs to play Kerbal Space Program. When they were announcing the Dear Moon mission, the graphics and the real physics thing that he's showing is basically Kerbal Space Program. And from there, it was taken seriously enough that a billionaire gave him real amounts of money to burn doing this. And now NASA has also given him best part of $3 billion to burn doing this. And he's gone through. What you're looking at there on the test stand is that represents about $2 billion of public money burned, which what's that per American? 300 million Americans, 2 billion. It's not that much. It's like $10 per American or something like that. Anyway, yeah. And how are we? 20 minutes to launch. Need a beer for launch. And they're in with okay, great. They finally acknowledged that the Starship is sci-fi. Yeah, great. My T-shirt. I decided that let's give this the reverence that it deserves. So I suppose I could do a poll. What fraction think it will blow up spectacularly? I did see some people on Twitter saying that it was already missing heat tiles. But anyway, so even if this works, and even if it's 100% success, they are still bankrupt before this becomes useful for anything, right? To get this to the point where it's rapidly reusable, you've got all the problems that you had with the space shuttle, right? The space shuttle had the nickname of the flying brickyard because the ceramic tiles on it were meant to be reusable, which basically means ceramics. There are two ways that you can do this. The first one is an ablative heat shield, which it's basically resin. Stuff with lots of aromatics. And you get this stuff called, oh my God, I can't remember the name. Intumescence? I think it's intumescence. It's basically when you heat something up, it gets fluffy and it basically turns into a sponge. And this is very good for attenuating the heat. But the thing is, with that sort of heat shield, you can only use it once. You go to the ceramic tiles, and you can reuse them. But the problem is they're brittle. They've got to be light. And if they're light, they tend to have low density, and low density stuff tends to be brittle, and it's going to be ceramic, so it's going to be brittle. And you have to mount all of this on a giant floppy tube, which is going to be problematic. So even if they can get this thing back, you've got the it may well be that the acoustics of the launch alone damage the heat tiles to the point where not so viable. The landing, re-entry might damage. Yeah, basically, if they have to inspect the heat shield every time they fly this thing, it's not going to work. Cheers to Bavaria as well, and I'm glad to see. But for me, this is sort of a sweet moment in that for the best part of a decade, I've been saying that all of these Musk ventures were bullshit. And the only one, I was skeptical about SpaceX. And everyone was saying, no, it's 10 times better than everyone else. They've completely revolutionized spaceflight. The thing is, they've not. You take a look at how much investor cash they burned, divided by the number of rockets that they've launched, and they're probably only, what are we at? 17 minutes. Okay. They're probably, it's very easy to be cheaper than everyone else if everything that you sell is sold at a loss. Actually, this is an interesting one. I might go over where do you get plasma? Plasma is an interesting one. Let me do seeing as they have that on the screen, I will describe why you get plasma. For which I will need my drawing back. You're going to lose all of the SpaceX bullshit, I'm afraid. There we go. So, and we need to, work for me. No, you're not, because I need to go like that. There we go. Yeah, I should get better at using these things. Anyway, so the thing is that you're surrounded by gas molecules. And gas molecules, the temperature of those gas molecules is the velocity that they're going at, right? And your average velocity of your gas molecule is about 300 meters per second, which, that's room temperature. Gas molecules going about the speed of sound. Actually... Someone just mentioned the Boring Company bricks. Yeah, maybe they should use Boring Company bricks to coat the Starship with. Anyway, so that's your gas at room temperature. So the thing is that when you get up to orbital velocity, your space shuttle or your Starship is going about 8 kilometers per second or 8,000 meters per second. So it's traveling a heck of a lot faster than the gas molecules at room temperature. So when these hit the gas molecules, the gas molecules bounce off, and you transfer about half of this energy to the actual guy here. Half the energy comes back off in the molecule, now traveling at more or less 8 kilometers per second. And when you hit the next two gas molecules come together, their collision speed is bloody insane, and it's high enough energy that you don't just get hot, you've now got enough energy to knock the electrons off the atoms. And that's basically what a plasma is. And it's this temperature of the gas. The gas here is... I've not gone through the calculations for 8 kilometers per second is in terms of temperature, but it's bloody hot. And that actually radiates most of the energy as light. So you dump the energy in the form of light. Other than that, the thing that slows you down, of course, is simple Newtonian mechanics. You're hitting stuff, and you more or less come to the common velocity after a while. That's basically how all of that goes. Let's come back to Starship. Where are you? There you are. Oh. No, seriously, guys. You can't see it. Okay, let me get rid of my drawing. Okay, now you can see it. Right, there you go. Yeah, so no, seriously, guys, you'll be completely safe on the moon. I'm not listening to the audio from SpaceX, but I guarantee they'll be saying that, no, we're going to be landing on the moon this time next year. This is really important for building a city on Mars. It'll be all the exact same talking points. And like I was saying, cities on Mars are utterly delusional. that one of the most rich nations on Earth with hundreds of billions of dollars to just burn the Saudi Aramco, whatever, the Saudi investment fund, whatever it's called. They can't build a city in the desert for hundreds of billions of dollars. And Musk has what? He got $2 billion off the US government for the landing on the moon, which, spoiler, that's never going to happen. You can see that from here. But which was meant to be landing on the moon. Starship was meant to be landing on the moon like 3 months ago or something. And they're just on a test, right? They're sort of spinning this up as it's just a test. We're just seeing what works and what doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing was really pretty bloody half-baked from its inception in, what was it, 2019? 2018. 2018 is when they announced the Dear Moon mission. Yeah, and their computer-generated graphics get all the physics wrong as well, and they're going around the moon in the wrong orientation, and yeah, I mean, technically it's an aesthetic thing, but you expect to be able to get these things right if you're actually planning to go to the moon. Yeah. Right, well, while we're looking at an astronaut when... Right, so their goals for today, they've given up on the fuel transfer stuff. That's gone. They've given up on opening the pod bay doors. Now they just want to see if they can actually get it back through the atmosphere in one piece. Yeah, so it's things like that. You know, these vents, these opening and closing of the valves. You get hammer type effects when you close these things, which shake the vessel, and you start losing your heat tiles, and that's pretty much game over in terms of recovering the vessel. Right, so let's. How long? We got 10 minutes. 10 minutes to. Yeah, well, something about he saves the private sector money. I missed that. Remember when he says he saves the private sector money? Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like it's pretty much fully tanked up. Yeah, maybe we get a spectacular. We've not really had a poll to see if it's going to blow up. I'm going to see if I can do that. I'm going to try and be heroic. How do I do a poll? Engage with your audience. That sounds. Start a poll. What happens in the next 30 minutes? And answer one is big bada boom. By the way, it's guaranteed to end up as a debris field. Guaranteed. Their best case scenario is they land them in the ocean. Which, all right, big bada boom. Big bada boom in space. Add option. 2x bada boom. That's both a blow up. And we will have option 3 as hunky dory. Which is okay. And let's start the poll. So yeah, there are all sorts of other things that can go wrong. They've got this sort of thing that blows the water up, which, I mean, water is bloody fantastic as a heat sink. It all basically boils down to the hydrogen bonds. It takes a lot of energy to break the hydrogen bonds in water. And that's basically where you're dumping the heat by turning it from liquid to steam. So water is great like that. However, it's another component that can go wrong. If you take a look at most of the sort of deluge systems that people have, they're not driven under pressure, and well, they are. They're driven under gravity. But the SpaceX one, because it needs to blow the water up, needs to be done at high pressure. And whilst conceptually these things work, there is a problem called countercurrent imbibition. Oh my God. And yeah, no, this is basically what it's all about, is you need to have all the beautiful graphics. This is where it's kind of stupid, right? You don't really gain that much by landing on a rocket, on a tower. And you especially don't get anything about having your towers right next to each other. There's a very good reason why the launch pads in Cape Canaveral like several kilometers apart, because if one blows up, it doesn't destroy your entire bloody launch facility. Let alone, when you're launching these things, they're very acoustically loud. So just launching one rocket with the other one sitting right next to it would probably be fatal for the other rocket, in terms of just knocking all the heat tiles off of it. It's as well thought out as their Dear Moon mission, where they were just going to fly to the moon without needing to refuel. Whereas in reality, later, they can't get to low Earth orbit with nothing in the rocket. Anyway, what are we down to? We're down to 7 minutes, and we are still on more PR stuff from SpaceX. Right. Okay. There we go. And the polls say, big bada boom in space. They've also given up trying to refire the engine in space, which is hugely telling, right? So in order for this to get people to the moon, they need like a dozen refueling flights. And they need to not only be able to hold the fuel in space for an extended period of time, which is rather tricky. So basically, at the distance that the Earth is from the sun, there's a sort of thermal equilibrium where, on average, the distance that we are from the sun is the average Earth temperature, which is like 300 Kelvin, room temperature, basically. And the cryogenic fuels that you're trying to store they boil at like minus 200. It doesn't really matter what units you use. They boil at a very low temperature. And you don't really have any way of keeping things cool in space. You've got two problems. You've got the sun, which is a big hot black body at 6,000 Kelvin. And you've got the Earth, which is a big hot black body at 300 Kelvin. And both of those things will cook anything that you put into low Earth orbit. And so boil off is a problem. So you have to fly your fuel up there very quickly. And even if you can do all of that and avoid the boil off problem, you've then got to refire your Raptor engines in space. Not just once to leave orbit, but then again to go into lunar orbit, then again to deorbit. And thus far, they've not refired their engines once in space. And they're not even going to try it on this flight. So, even if this all works, they won't know. All they will get out of this is, in the best case scenario, does the heat shield survive re-entry? If it survives re-entry with, so much damage that the whole thing has to be resurfaced, I don't think they get that out of this, because it's just going to splash down in the ocean, in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And, So, we are down to, how much? 4 minutes, 30 seconds. So last time they blasted off a little early. Let's see, do they have a fuel indicator? Just so you know, the fuel indicators are good all the time you're in a gravity field, because then the fuel is sort of sat down at the bottom. Once you get into space, the fuel goes everywhere. So the fuel indicators, basically, you can't tell how much is in the tank once it gets into space. Not so easily. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Once there is no longer thrust, it's very difficult to tell how much is in the tank in space. And someone, Bob, that's very generous of you. Right, let's end the poll. And Bob says, thank you for everything. No problem, Bob. Send you an email. Why are you killing my Tesla stock cost basis? It's what I do. So people, it's one of the common things that people ask me is, why don't I actually short Tesla stock? And the answer is so painfully obvious that, yeah, if the stock market was rational, shorting Tesla stock would make 1,000% sense. But when the stock market is fundamentally irrational, especially when it comes to things like meme stocks, where now you're talking more about you're basically betting against the psychoses of Tesla fans. Anyway, we are coming up on to 2 minutes. Almost a. We need to pop open a beer for this. So, this is the pressurized can that you need, you see. And there you go. Yeah, so part of me sort of, they've not had an engine failure so far. And I think on the Falcon 9, they have all this armor between the engines, such that if one engine goes out, that's fine. I think with this thing, it's going to get interesting. So 30 engines. Place your bets now. Which, the better odds than you're going to get it at any roulette table. Thunderfoot, the white paper, all glory to the white paper. There is actually, just so you know, a white paper for Starship. And it is comically blank. You know, it's about how it's going to take things to Mars, and yeah, it's sort of Kerbal Space Program fan version go to Mars. Expect fireworks and another out of control tumble, right? So the weird thing about the out of control tumble from last time, where did I get that T-shirt? Amazon, look for cute. I don't know how I got it, but it's just from Amazon. It's I forgot what I was going to say again. Ugh, terrible. Anyway, where are we at? Less than a minute. Counting down. 59 seconds. And it's a big cloud so far. Yeah. Clench up the Lego lass. We're going high. There's part of me is, yeah, the people who turn up and watch this live have probably zero concept of how big an explosion this is going to be if things go wrong. It's roughly 3 kilotons, I think, which is a small nuclear blast type thing. And we have cooling down the engines. It's going to be fun to see them try that in space. This is why the refiring in space is an important thing. Anyway, here we go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Everyone say big bada boom. And it looks good so far. Stable. Nothing clearly wrong. That's good. It's good. And yeah, all that yellow is the sodium in the water basically being blasted by the engines. Okay, this looks good. No obvious engines out yet. This is going through the cloud. You can see the the acoustic ripples that you see there is also why water is a fantastic way of. Oh, this is all fucked up. Oh, you see all that dark in the fuel there. That's not right. Oh, hang on. But anyway, like we're saying, those ripples that you see in the cloud, what you're essentially doing, the one engine's gone. I don't think it can make it, right? So, and it's twitching. And what are their fuel indicators? Their fuel indicators look off. One of my screens gone blank. Okay. So there was this thing that can actually make it to orbit They claim that it's with 3 engines out they can make it to orbit. I don't believe a word of that, in that they can barely make it to orbit with everything working perfectly. And okay, so we're now getting into the part of the atmosphere where the water that you create from burning your hydrocarbon is just condensing out. It's cold enough that happens. So yeah, 1 engine out. Okay, I didn't see any booms that went with it, but the black that you saw in the plumes was not good. It's a bit small on my screen at the moment. What you're looking for is there a discrepancy between the oxygen, and it looks to me like the oxygen is lower than the methane, which is... so you basically just keep going. You just keep going, but it's just you don't have enough energy to make orbit or something. That's not going to stop them from, there's no point blowing up the rocket yet. You could as well try and get something out of it. But, that's wobbly. That's wobbly. Okay. Maybe that's it's just the camera angle. And we are almost right. So I think they're completely screwed on the recovery attempt of the booster, and their grid fins are twitching. That's weird. Okay. And green flash. That's bad news. Green flash is and does it blow up straight away? No. Okay. And oh no, engines are going okay. But if you take a look at the booster, it's down on its oxygen. So yeah, last time when they tried this, they were basically out of fuel. And seeing as the fundamental design of the rocket's not changed yet, my expectation is they don't have enough fuel to sensibly do anything with it. Now, the last time I was watching this, I didn't really have a good appreciation of when they do their relight burn. So if you take a look at the Falcon 9s, when they do their relight burns, they're... oh, what the hell? Okay, not sure what that's all about. Okay, I might have missed a beat there. Anyway, I should probably have all these things on. Yeah, the copper lining is gone on something. What the hell's that? What am I looking at? These they're reaction control thrusters, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can actually get this on the big screen so I can actually see what the hell's going on. Okay, good. Now I can see what's going on. Okay, clearly the booster is fucked. Pardon my French. The booster is an uncontrolled descent with not enough oxygen left to light up the engines. It's done for, right? So that's another 30 engines. I mean, when you take a look at these things, that's a lot of money that's just going to go boosh at... Anyway, like I was saying, what I didn't fully appreciate is when the Falcon 9s are coming down, you basically only light up the engines a few seconds before you would otherwise hit the ground. So they're almost supersonic coming down, or they are supersonic. It's close when they actually relight the engines. This thing has 0 oxygen left in the booster. And it's also venting something. So yeah, this is... And also, if you take a look at the top section, we're burning more oxygen than methane. Again, that's not so promising. All the stuff venting out the bottom of the booster on the left, not good. Game over! Quite right, Shona. Yeah, this is going to make a big splash in the Gulf of Mexico. Debris field guaranteed. What the hell am I looking at there? What the hell am I looking at there? Oh, I see something drift off that looked like, oh, this is wrong. Oh, it's the top of the booster. Okay, I get it now. Okay, right. And now we're looking up. Doesn't make any difference. We have no fuel to light back up. 19, 18, 17 kilometers, 16 kilometers, 15, 14, 13. It lights up at about 2. Right, at 2, you need to start watching the velocity. Our velocity is 3,000 kilometers per hour. What's that? It's 3 times the speed of sound. 3 times the speed of sound. 4, 3, 2, 1. Flight termination system activate. Boom. 1 kilometer. Oh, it's lighting up. It's lost 1. It's lost 1. And it hits the ocean and it's disintegrating. Hey, this is oh, that's good. Oh no, I take it all back. I take it all back. Holy crap! Soft touchdown. Well done, SpaceX. And it hovers. It had enough. Okay. And lots of methane. And yeah, okay. And that presumably it pausing there is yeah. No, good job. Well done. Yeah. Finally, they get to cheer at something that's not blowing up. And what did they have? They had one engine that didn't light up for the slowdown boost. But the slowdown boost, you know, it literally happens very shortly before it impacts the ground. So it went from, what's this? That's the main engine. Okay, that's 3 of the engines shutting down. Okay. And, okay, so congratulations, SpaceX. You finally didn't blow everything up. Right, where are we at? We have some fuel left. Okay. And it did that with one engine out. Ooh. Yeah, these things where it twitches like that. How are our heat tiles looking? Heat tiles don't look so bad. Yeah. As a general rule, I don't like gases escaping from my rocket. Okay, and our heat tiles look okay here as well. And our orientation just flipped. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of what I did last time. You know, that there are all these weird venting. Someone said that you know it's basically venting the tank such that it doesn't explode or something, but that this doesn't look right. So when you see this stuff here, right? You see this here. It's all venting out of one part. It's not a nice even vent, and so it was like that. Oh, there goes a heat tile. Oh, I know whether you saw it sort of spin off there. So where are we at? What's this? Is this the booster coming back? They have a different shot of the booster coming back. Possibly. No, it can't be the booster coming back because the booster only lights up its engines. It's when you're down to a couple of kilometers. It's really very soon before it hits the ground is when you light up the engines. And the amount of fuel that you need to basically slow it down is relatively small. I'll put my hands up there. I thought that one was a goner. So. Yeah, you gotta be honest about these things. But meanwhile, we are in the coast phase, and there is all sorts of gases leaking out the back of the rocket. Gases aren't meant to be leaking out of the rocket. No, there's a general rule. It's did the booster survive? The booster actually made it to a soft touchdown, which they, so you light up like the outer ring of engines, that worked okay. Then you turn off the outer ring, only one of them failed, and then you land on the inner ring. So that all went okay. Would any of this be rapidly reusable? Probably not. So I mean, yeah. In terms of how far are we from reuse here? A long way. And even if you can, this is you now need to refire your engines multiple times in space. Why is it still venting crap out the back like this? This and also our attitude is kind of messed up. Are we? Right, so the weird thing about when it started spinning last time is it picked up virtually all of the rates, and then the rates basically stopped. So normally if you have a stuck thruster, you expect the rates to keep accelerating, and you go faster and faster and faster if you have a stuck thruster. But that's not what happened. So I went back and watched all the video footage, and it picked up the rates relatively rapidly and then stopped. And then it was just a constant. It was like a clock afterwards, just going round and round and round. So, okay, so, yeah, it's in a coast phase, I suppose. I could, let's see what the audio from SpaceX sounds like. And it looks like we're back to elevator music for the coast phase. Okay, well, better than, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's impressive. Yes, yeah. So what happened last time is for the upper stage they have header tanks. For the lower stage, I don't think they have. So you've got this problem that your tanks are virtually empty, and you've got to get all the fuel to the engines from that. So last time, if you take a look at it, there was lots of activity on the grid fins, and that probably caused all sorts of fuel slosh, which meant that when they tried to light up the engines, it's like, nope. But this time, no, it's good. SpaceX feed says this video is no longer available because YouTube... What? What was that? My SpaceX feed says this video is no longer available because the YouTube account associated with this video has been terminated. Huh? I hope that's not me. Anyway. I'm no longer a taxpayer in America, but when I was, back when I was a taxpayer in America, my tax dollars were going to finance the Iraq War. Not a proud moment, but... Oh, is that... so many fake SpaceX streams. Yeah, so I ironically heard... That was one of the things that I heard the everyday astronaut complaining about, is there are so many fake SpaceX streams that... yeah, and I was thinking, yeah, people who actually pretend that what Musk says is real, and that, no, it's totally... Starlink, not Starlink, Spaceship is... definitely flying around the moon in 2023 and landing on Mars in 2024, and yeah. So in terms of the hurdles that are still to be covered to actually get this thing to the moon. It's like a dozen refueling flights, the ability to refire the engines multiple times in space, none of which they've even started on yet. And Thunderfoot, do you think the fact that they can't get the turbo pumps to reignite? So I think the main problem is that once it's sat in space for a long period of time, it's one of those things you don't really know till you've tried it. But when they do it here on Earth, they pre-cool the engines to get the engines, if you get cavitation in the engines and the such, like the forces of the fuel pumps is such that it'll destroy the engines. The engines have to be as light as possible, which means that you're fairly near the structural limits of these things. And so not a lot has to go wrong before the turbo pumps shatter and the engine is destroyed. Now you've got the problem that you can't really do that in space. When you're sat on the ground, it's quite easy just to pump some fuel through the engines and cool them down. When you've been sat in deep space for an extended period of time, it's really unclear how that's going to work. So conceivably it works, conceivably not. Yeah. I mean, those are things you can do on the ground. You can't easily do in space. The only time it's ever been done in space before that I know of was in the Apollo missions. There was the third stage of the Apollo. It burns the first stage, gets you to, edge of space. You burn the second stage, that gets you almost up to orbital velocity. You burn the third stage, that gets you into orbital insertion. And then you shut down that engine, and about an hour later, after you've checked out everything on the spacecraft, you fire it up again and you go to the moon. But that's the only time I ever know that, big-ass turbo pumps have been fired in space. And that, its loiter time between when it was first fired and when it was second fired was only about an hour. So, and for Starship, they need to fire it to get it out of orbit. They need to fire to get it into lunar orbit. They need to fire to go down to the moon. And they need to fire to come back up from the moon. And, okay, what do we have on this one? 2 engines failed. Yeah. And basically, if that happens on any of the critical burns, going down to the moon or coming back up, that's basically curtains. You lose the thrust. You can't get enough velocity out of it. Yeah. So it looks like we have. So the fuel tanks at the moment they mean nothing because it's in a coast phase. And it's not had... Remember what I was saying earlier? We're not going to see inside the Starship because it's going to be a completely empty vessel. Maybe that's part of it. Okay. Yeah. Right. Thus far, Starship does have a problem in that, whilst other vessels are meant to take stuff to orbit, the thing is that you usually then launch something in orbit, and Starship doesn't do any of that. So normally you have these things called boilerplate spacecraft, which you stick on top of your rocket and you launch them into space. You can't easily do that with Starship because it doesn't open. You can't dump your boilerplate spacecraft in space. So, how do you actually... it literally can't take anything to orbit at the moment. Literally nothing. Okay, so any interesting questions? Keep it, Elon's special friends. Thunderfoot stream will go to the moon. Moon before Starship at this rate. Yeah, exactly. Which will get to the moon quicker, Dogecoin or Starship? And at that point, it is kind of one NFT versus another. If you were to ask the simple question, how many more launches like this before you actually put something on the moon? It's a lot. A lot. And even if you just get the spacecraft back, this is like a tiny fraction of the battle. The reason that the Falcon 9, you know, when SpaceX goes bankrupt and people actually see the finances, you know, it's one of those things that landing on a barge on the other side of the Atlantic sounds very impressive, but then you've got to ship it all the way across all these things. Shipping a rocket across the Atlantic, these things cost money. Unloading it costs money. Moving it to the launch pad costs money. And what are the odds that Trump's going to make a running mate for Musk? Probably pretty decent. Thunderfoot is so delusional. You're quite right. You're quite right. Everyone is riding to work on Hyperloops and the Loop, and they are traveling on supersonic vertical and takeoff and landing supersonic electric jets. One of Musk's ideas. Yeah, they have their robo-taxis, of course. Yeah, they fly around the moon on a regular basis, just like Musk said they would. And yeah, I'm the delusional one. What do I think about? Oh god, this goes fast. What do you think about Blue Origin? So I know relatively little about Blue Origin, and you know, to an extent, a lot of the space stuff is, you know, do you really care about a lot of the details? Launching satellites, okay, fine. It's been done for a while. Sending men to the moon, I'm more and more cynical about what you actually gain by sending people to the moon. Yeah, with human missions, they are almost entirely orientated around keeping the people alive. Most notably, you need oxygen, water, and food. 3 things that are actually pretty difficult to come by in deep space. So you've got to take them all with you. And yeah, so your human missions become almost entirely around keeping people alive. Something you'll notice there is nothing for on Starship. There is no life support system. The last time I saw it, it had holes in the fuselage to equalize the pressure as it went into space. And yeah, what do we have thus far? We have yeah, a spinning rocket, because you know Starship is streaming through Starlink so well. Oh yeah, and of course it's going to fly. Gwynne Shotwell was saying that within, what was it, 10 years, which is within 2 years from now, Gwynne Shotwell was saying that she would be able to fly anywhere on Earth and be back in time to make dinner by flying on Starship. Yeah, I'm definitely in the cope zone. No, I mean, yeah, landing the booster. That's impressive. That's what else we got? Apart from people spamming shit. Good luck to you guys. Ban the clown. Okay, let's ban the clown. I don't even know how to do this. Put in timeout. That sounds hopeful. For 24 hours. That should work. There we go. Clown is in timeout for 24 hours. And yeah, okay, well, put him in timeout for 24. I do so little of the streaming that it really doesn't hide user. I don't even know. Put in timeout. There we go. That sounds good. 24 hours. Good. Ban all the clowns. I'm working on it as fast as my boomer clicky things can go. Okay. Automated Russian bot. He can go to put in. No, we don't want to make him a moderator. Put in timeout. 24 hours. There we go. That should hopefully clean up the chat a bit. Yeah. Send in the clowns. Clown. I can't do it. Put him in a corner. Well, one of the problems with trying to do this stuff is, yeah, if they're being obtrusive, yeah, you're just feeding the trolls. You're giving them what they want. I agree completely. But you know, if they're spamming, you know, just spam, fine. But yeah, I prayed to the white paper before going to work on the Hyperloop demonstrate. Just woke up to see Thunderfoot's live stream. Did you miss anything? Yes, you did. SpaceX did not blow up the booster. They actually managed to get the booster to a hover, which is operationally insignificant in going to Mars. You know, that all they need is another... Yeah. So, again, coming back to watching the Dear Moon announcement, they say that they're going to launch it loads of times before they put people on it. And, yeah. It's not morning here. It's a little bit afternoon. And outside, I have a beehive. Important stuff now. Seeing as we have probably 20 minutes and we have seen nothing. Actually, hang on. I'm getting curious now. Last time, we had... all sorts of images back from Starship during the coast phase, and we've had nothing. I've got a suspicion that, okay, the last time we saw it, it was venting loads of stuff, which is kind of what it did last time, and last time it went and tumbled. And I'm going to guess, yeah, okay, an unfavorable man, a man might speculate unfavorably that they're doing this because it's out of control and they don't want everyone to see it. Yeah, this is the problem with having SpaceX in charge of things when they're spending public money. This is taxpayer money that you're spending here. So, anyway, like I was saying, outside at the moment, I have a beehive which has no bees in it. It's an empty beehive, but there have been lots of scout bees there recently. Oh, no, it twitched. Okay. So I'm just curious as to how there's also... Okay, there's one or two bees outside. Okay. So I have, because this is now the 20-something century, I have a doorbell camera inside the beehive to watch the bees come and go so I can observe the behavior of the scout bees. Finally, Putin did nothing wrong. Definitely not a troll. Put in timeout for 24 hours. There we go. That should work. Yeah, bees are awesome. So a good beehive will get you like 50 kilos of honey per year. But the problem is that the bee populations have been decimated recently by this parasite called Varroa, which can kill like 50% of the hives per year. Yeah, and that wasn't a problem when I was a kid. When I was a kid, beehives basically lived forever. Beehives never died. And now, yeah, not so good. Don't listen to the troll saying that you have 7,000 viewers. Nearly 8, but... Yeah, I mean, so this is the bit for me where it's kind of... I am still not in the plurality. There is now a tide change against Elon Musk. Yeah, there was a time when he could do no wrong. He was the guy doing all of these things for the benefit of mankind. You take a look at any of his old videos and take a look at the comments underneath, and he is the techno messiah. It is just, what we are so honored to live in the same time as Elon Musk. And actually, this is an interesting thing. I didn't see Elon Musk at all in the control room, right? So they made a big point in the first 2 launches of actually having Elon Musk there. Didn't see him at all this time. It's also interesting that the ones that Musk doesn't show up to seem to do better. Yeah. So, yeah, I am such a boomer that I have yet to work out how to stream from the doorbell cameras. but it's absolutely fascinating watching the, so first of all, they find the hive, and the way the bees reproduce is they send out these things called swarms, and they sort of sit there. I will get back to the super chat in a second. They leave the hive in a big ball, and then they send out scouts, and the scouts go and look for potential places. Hello. Oh no, sorry. I thought the SpaceX stream had completely stalled there for a second. And when they find a good prospective home, which is basically a big empty box, they go back, and how much they dance and how excited they are about it basically convinces other bees to go. And so how bees decide where they're going to live is a sort of democracy by the workers. If enough workers get excited about moving to a hive, then the whole thing moves off. But yeah, you need like, 10,000 bees and a queen. You can buy them, but I want to be chosen. I don't want to. I don't want to pay for it. I want to be chosen. Anyway, damn, suddenly start like Benjamin Franklin there. Beer money, thank you for the beer money, Sergey. Check out my empty beehive. You're damn straight. Do you have any tips for astrophysics students getting a PhD for writing a thesis? I can tell you that I watch lots of people writing their theses at the moment, and AI plays a very large role in it, which I don't really have that big of a deal with, because even when I was writing my thesis, which was like a long time ago, last millennium, the introduction on PhD theses is all some sort of generic fluff about the field that you're working in. The sort of thing that an AI would actually be very good at writing. I got no real problem with people doing that. As for what to do if you're going... Research is one of those things I don't think AI is not going to scratch research for a long time. There are things that AI does quite well and things that it just sucks at. So in terms of creating generic fluff, it's bloody awesome. In terms of actually running political campaigns, it would probably be pretty good as well. In that, but the problem with all AIs is they tend to eat themselves after a while. That how can you tell whether information is generated by a human or an AI? And if you can't do that, then you run into these recursion loops that your AI is learning from things that other AIs have done, and they become unstable, they begin to hallucinate, not unlike your typical conspiracy theorist, that it's got its selective bubble of data that it thinks is real, and it generates more like that. And so Thunderfoot, look at the altitude. It is actually, you're right, the altitude is pointing, it's off. It's off. It's pointing nose down. Velocity is remarkably stable. Oh no, it's accelerating. 57, 58, 59 kilometers per hour. Okay. Strange units. Meters per second makes far more sense for these sorts of things. So orbital velocity is like 8 kilometers per second, that sort of thing. So it'd be about 8,000. But it's not a significant acceleration. It's mostly coasting. But yeah, Starlink has been very good for getting images from Starship. That we've basically had none. So I suspect part of it is that, super chat, enjoying the stream and have a beer on me. Thank you, David. What are we at? We're at 35 minutes. So the suborbital flight ends, I think, in like 15 minutes or something. So we'll stick with it, see what happens. Orbital interface, just so you know, right? You see we're at 175 kilometers in altitude. Once you get down to about 100, that's almost exactly when you start picking up the plasma. You don't get a lot of deceleration when you first pick up the plasma, right? So it looks pretty, it looks impressive, but there's nothing there, right? The atmospheric pressure at that sort of altitude is fractions of a millibar. Ballpark figures. What you're breathing at the moment is 1 bar. That's 1 atmosphere. So a millibar is 1,000th of an atmosphere. Oh, yeah, nose is pitching up. What the okay. So the altitude is not stable. Or it could just be relative to... No. Why would you have the altitude? It's pitching up. It's pitching up quickly. It's accelerating. Trust me, I look at these things. Yep, it's pitching up. And we have an image from one of the grid fins. Okay. And it's warped. The grid fin is warped. It's bent. There? It's not a subtle thing either. It's a sort of big-ass bend. We need to be on this one. There we go. Big-ass bend. What else we got? Heat tiles look fine. What the hell is this? It's like a piece of paper or something. Enjoying playing for my engineering classmates. Thank you. Okay, but in terms, right, so we'll be able to tell the altitude of the spaceship because, you're right, we've got an angle, right? So you've got a constant angle here. And this looks like land. But that doesn't, so this is maybe Africa. We're just going over, what? I mean, that's definitely the last land that it could possibly go over. They did look like, that looks like land, not clouds. Okay, hang on. Weren't we at 157 kilometers earlier and we're now at 158? How come we're increasing our altitude? I don't know, 157, okay. So, yeah, okay. I will ban some of these people. Put in timeout. There you go. I'll ban some of the clowns. It's like, make life painful for everyone. Fine, we'll put in timeout. 24 hours. Yeah. Okay, where are we at? So this is the thing that's weird. Is this correct? Doesn't look correct. You expect, if this is one of the wing fins, you expect it to be seeing the horizon flat, and we're not seeing the horizon flat. But we're definitely over the ocean now. So, and we're lost. We're down to 150 kilometers. Only 50 more kilometers to go at 149. Okay, this is good. We can estimate the orbital interface from the countdown of the altitude. 150, 148. Count right from 147. We count how many seconds to go to 146. What? Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. 6 seconds. So 6 seconds, and we've got roughly 60 of those to go. So 360 seconds, which is 6 minutes. 6 minutes to orbital interface. God, it's fun doing these things. And we are going into a more nose up. I think this is it's actually holding attitude okay. In other words, the attitude is relative to the ground, and as you go around the Earth, obviously this changes, right? Let's see if we can actually, so as you go around the Earth, even if you're not going to move unless you've actually given yourself some sort of momentum. So if you go around the Earth, you go around the Earth like that. So this pitching up is because Ah, but now we can actually see something. Okay. Oh, and... Oh, there's something drifting by. There's a satellite or something drifting by. Okay, but you see all these little guys pointing down? These look like are those like the... You get them on airplanes, but I can't remember quite what they're for. Is it for static or something? Right, we're at 36, right? 36, we get to we're at 135 at the moment. We get to 100 and it gets exciting. Yeah. So the altitude, the attitude of the spaceship looks about right. But I want to stress that this is computer graphics. Why are we looking at computer graphics when we could actually be looking at the real thing? I remember seeing these sorts of things for good. And we're back again. And we're more nose up. Okay. We're not out of control. That's nice. It's good to see that it's not out of control, and we're at 129. Okay, so I'm just doing my little... At the moment, we're in free fall. Thank you for the video. Thanks, Joe. There's something about Ukraine. Oh, yeah. No, Musk in Ukraine is... Yeah. Good. A different view from which we see there is one missing heat tile. I assume that's a missing heat tile. This looks weird as well. There's something weird about this. But it's stable. Little bits coming off. This is just ice. So it's quite common that when you get any liquid in a vacuum, it cools down, it freezes, and every now and again, a little bit of gas will be generated on the surface, and it just knocks the piece of ice off. So this is nothing really unexpected. Oh, we got land. Is that an island? That looks like land. That's a river. We are going over land. How is that possible? I thought this thing was meant to land in the middle of... Is that Africa? I thought we flew over Africa. Okay. I mean, we're super close to orbital interface. We're like 15 times 6. Oh. Yeah, so you pick it up almost exactly at 100 kilometers. Yeah. And 1, 2, 3, 4. No problem. Super. Right. I will. I need my bees first before I can do things. Right. Okay. 11. 1. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so it's still going down about a kilometer every 6 seconds. So if you're doing a kilometer in 6 seconds, that's the speed of sound. We're falling at the speed of sound. The speed of sound is a kilometer every 3 seconds. So it's half the speed of sound. And there we go. 106, we're picking up plasma, right? But you'll get no real deceleration at the moment. So our speed is roughly 26 kilometers per second. And you get no real deceleration yet, right? Because there's no atmosphere. You really start picking it up. You're much lower down. It's like It's been a while, but I don't know, 60 kilometers or something is when you get the bulk of your deceleration. That's when it's basically you're not at peak heating at the moment. It's very hot, but there's none of it there. So okay, this is good. Wings pinned back. We are not tumbling. We are not tumbling, which is good. 99. And our velocity is unchanged. Right? The velocity that you've got here is the thing that you've got to keep your eye on, because that's basically the energy you've got to dissipate through the tiles. So it's mostly on the underside at the moment. I could draw some pictures about this. The cameras are sort of compensating for the differential lighting. Is it just me, or is there a twist on this? Okay, we are still, so we basically lost no velocity. We've got lots of pink glowy stuff, but so what, right? There's plasma, but there's basically none of it. Very cool. Love the coverage. Thank you. Right. We're 26.7. So we've basically lost no velocity yet. We've lost some altitude. The majority, falling from the edge of space to the ground is only worth, I think, like 3 kilometers. It's 3,000 kilometers per hour, that sort of thing, right? So your altitude isn't actually worth that much in terms of energy. All of your energy is in your forward velocity. So, it's glowing lots, but you don't care, right? What you care about is... And okay, right now we're starting to fly. Our rate of descent is slowing, and this is because as you hit the stuff, you actually get lift from it. And you do this because you want to take you want to extend the entry interface. The longer you do it, the less intense you're heating. You come in too quickly, everything goes up to like 6,000 Kelvin or something, and you just melt. So the middle bit will get like crazy amounts of heating, and we're still not to the point, right? This is where it's all about mean free paths of gases. So energy transfer between gas molecules is only as fast as they can hit each other. And we're so high up in the atmosphere that the mean free path for the gas molecules is quite a long way. So it doesn't behave like gases. Oh, something just flew off. It doesn't behave like gas at atmospheric pressure when you're at these sorts of altitudes. Okay, we're actually starting to lose some velocity now, right? We've lost... what are we down to? We've not quite lost... We're going to go down to, 0. So we're at 265. Let's ignore all the last two numbers. We're at 265, 264, 4, 5, 263. Oh, yeah. Now we're getting real heating, and you see bits coming off. That's not good, right? Oh yes, you see this little shower here. That's definitely not good. Bits shouldn't be coming off. At least I assume that's what we're looking at. You're still not really in the point of the atmosphere where there's anything. Actually, so this is the thing. There's no atmosphere there, but you're going through it very quickly. So I'm not quite sure what the forces are like. I don't know when you get the peak forces on this thing. Oh, is that what this was? Was this frost? It seems to be evaporating off. Okay. So, yeah, static plasma field type thing. There's surprisingly little heating here. But like we're saying, so the hot molecules come off and they bounce off, and that they... This looks remarkably like there was... I think it was the Artemis that came back from the moon. You get this weird white shimmery stuff. But I'm not seeing as much stuff coming off. Oh no, there is still a little flecks of stuff coming off. Okay, but we're now down to, we've gone from 260 to 250. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. Right, so now we're getting to the point where the gas is touching everywhere. And we're leaking gas. How can this be possible? And it stopped. Okay. So my usual gut response would be there was gas inside the spaceship, and that's what was leaching out, and you were getting it lit up by the plasma field. Nice and stable. Give it that. This looks good at this point. And we've now lost, right, we're down to 70 kilometers, and we've gone down from 260 to 240. So still quite a bit more. Yeah, watch out, Australia. Time to put your hard hats on. Bright spot here. Not sure what that's all about. There's a lot of energy to dump. You know, basically, oh, no, that's burning metal, burning metal. You can tell burning metal very quickly. Bright sparks. Bright sparks is burning metal. So that's the stainless steel. But it's only a few sparks so far. That being said, if you're getting some burning metal, right. So these are things I wouldn't have. You don't know these numbers until you see it. There's a lot of unintuitive stuff going on here. But now our velocity is dropping quickly. Our velocity is dropping quickly, which means, of course, that we're dumping lots of energy. But it also means that we're hitting more atmosphere. So there's more atmosphere to take the heat away. Yeah. Okay. We're only a few sparks so far. Oh no, sparks is burning metal. Yeah. Another flash of sparks. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's not good. That's definitely not good. That's definitely not good. That's definitely not good. That's definitely not good. And what are we at? We've lost of our velocity. We started at 26, we're at 24. Our altitude is more or less stable. We're flying, right? So it's, you're getting lift from all of this atmosphere that you're hitting. And yeah, but do you get? Yeah, it's getting intense. Yeah, so if you're seeing sparks, this means there must be metal exposed, and if you've got metal exposed, more flashes of sparks. This I really don't like. This little bright white spot here. Okay, we're down to 22. Oh yeah. The spark show is not good. That means that you've got metal. Holy shit, now I think about it. Oh, yeah, lots of burning metal. Lots of burning metal. Yeah, so the bright white flashes, that's the engines burning. That's not good. Have we lost altitude? No, the attitude control is good. And we're down from 26 to 21. Velocity is, the energy is, yeah, this is not good. It's going. It's going. Yeah, I don't have, oh yeah, this is definitely peak heating. Yeah, the shower of sparks is, oh, we're getting up to heat now. Shit, look at this. This is glowing red. That means that, in black body radiation terms, we are at 800 Celsius something, yeah. And we're down from 20. Yeah, lots of burning metal. The burning metal, I think okay. I'm going to make my predictions here now. Yeah, all that burning metal. Right? If you can see anything at all, blue. I think the blue might be the iron. Yeah. Oh, bye-bye, Starship. Bye, and there goes the control. Oh, no, that's just the fin bending. Okay. Yeah. So all of the stuff that you can see burning off means, this is fascinating. There's a lot of physics in here. and we've gone from 26 to 19. And yeah, that white stuff is, I think it's going to go poof in any second now. You don't get that much stuff burning off your ship. There's metal somewhere. There is a hunk of metal that is basically welding. When you get that's a lot of sparks. We're at 60 kilometers and we've lost. This is interesting. So we're actually getting to the point. Holy shit. Yeah, burning metal. Lots of burning metal. So the ceramic heat tiles, when metal burns, just the burning metal itself goes up to like 3,000 Kelvin. Sparklers, right? That's basically what you're looking at. When you see sparklers, that's what gives it the nice white glowy stuff. It would be fascinating to see what's left of this. Right, so we're actually doing okay. We've lost. No. So if you watch the Artemis come back from the moon, it does all this apart from there are no sparks. You get all the plasma fields and all that sort of thing. It's burning off. It's burning. It's gone. This is burnt through. The wing here is burnt through. It's going to go pop in a second. It's melted. It's melted. You see it melting. And it's melted through here. And what are we at? 60 kilometers and 1,000. We've gone now from 260 to 150. I think we've lost 2/3 of the energy. But yeah, this is... it's not just failed in one place. This has failed all over the place. But yeah, this is the welding torch of the atmosphere. 50 kilometers. Airplanes fly at 10 kilometers. And airplanes fly at 10 kilometers and 1,000, right? So we're going 14 times the speed of a plane and lots of times the altitude. And it's over. Yeah. Send in the clowns. Yeah, bring back the clowns. Come on, boys. I'll bring you out of timeout for this. Oh, yeah. So, he made the world's biggest sparkler. Good job. Good job. The thing that it was meant to test today, hey, I'll give him credit for the booster, but, yeah, rapid reuse, just around the corner. It's a nice sparkler, though. That's this would be fascinating to see from the ground, right? So just so you know, normally when you see you don't just get the energy of the things hitting the atmosphere. Surprisingly, it's still in one piece, or there's still information coming back. The feed will just like go blank in a second. It's like the whole thing will just break in half or something. Once it ceases to be, it's lost all aerodynamic control. Presumably the other camera is already gone, presumably. Otherwise, why would you stick with this camera? But I mean, let's be fair. It's still no, it stopped. It's frozen. It's gone. It's gone. Your taxpayer money. Oh no, it's back again. It's back again. 46, and we're losing speed quickly. We've gone around from 260 to 100, and we're roughly 4 times the altitude of a plane. And yeah, so. Just so you know, on the Dear Moon mission, you had to get through all of this and rely on the engines to... Oh, it's cute. You can see through a little hole in the camera that isn't melted that there is still bits of molten metal out there. Huge success. Yeah, so they were saying that the thing this is what they call in the trade the thermal protection system or some shit. Yeah, it's Thunderfoot smug mode enabled. Yes and no. Okay, now, right, we're back into the atmosphere, right? If you take a look at the velocity, we're now down to only 7 times the speed of sound. And there we go. We're in the atmosphere. We're way past peak cooling, peak heating. We're 4 times the basically, once you get through the peak heating, after that you're just a falling object. So this might actually, maybe it's lost out. Basically, I would have expected it to have disintegrated before then. For certain, anything. What probably happened is they lost half a dozen tiles. They had lots of holes burnt in it. In terms of reusability, no. And it's this. They're still getting telemetry from it. Well, let me rephrase that. There is still something broadcasting. That's not quite the same. And yeah, so we may well be at the point where we are looking at a piece of falling wreckage at the moment. But the velocity is now down to basically 3,000 kilometers per... Oh, no. Are we at 4? There's something wrong there. There's something very wrong there. We should be just seeing clouds at the moment. Right? You're into the atmosphere now. 30 kilometers. Concorde flew at almost 20 or something. So it should just basically look like regular atmosphere. Maybe if we're looking upwards. Maybe if we're looking upwards towards space. Yeah. And there's still bits falling off it. It's still an active camera, but it may be that, all that's really there is a camera. It may just be a hunk of wreckage falling to ground. Yeah, if you take a look at the altitude is way. No. So it may be that this is now just debris fragments falling to Earth. 20 kilometers, it should just look like regular atmosphere. Velocity, so you might have one fragment which has its battery, a transmitter, and that's telling you what the attitude of that falling fragment is. We have another falling fragment with a camera on board. But, okay, we're... yeah, if you take a look at how quickly the attitude is changing. Camera is made of unobtainium. I'm stunned that the camera is still going. There we go. Daylight. 13 kilometers. What's free fall speed? In terms of kilometers per... Right, we're 600. We're more or less half the speed of sound and at 10 kilometers. And that looks... This seems to be falling too slowly, but... and those still look like burning bits coming off, but that can't be. If it is, it's a metal fire. And stainless steel, it will burn if you get it hot enough. When I say hot enough, I mean basically hot enough to boil the stuff. 6 kilometers, 5 kilometers. It's falling slow, damn. 4 kilometers. Okay, buckle up, guys. We're coming up to the landing burn. 4 kilometers. This is falling way too slow. 3 kilometers. Right, 3 kilometers per hour. 3 kilometers. Why do we still have sparks? This is impossible unless it's a metal fire. 2 kilometers. 1 kilometer. And the landing burn. And it successfully lands and 0 kilometers. And why do we still see sparks at 0 kilometers? I I think that's the ocean, but it's on fire. The Starship was on fire. It's still burning. Oh my God! Look. Okay. Well, successful test, I guess. And kilometers per hour is still at we're still at 9 kilometers per hour. Yeah. You morons! You absolute morons! With his Occupy Mars t-shirt. And they're going to say what a great success it was in terms of... it's so Orwellian. Yeah, it's the sort of full self-driving is full self-driving only if it is supervised full self-driving, and it's a successful test is okay. It blew up and melted and did a few other things, but Musk is actually there, but we only see him. Yeah, great. The only thing that the mission was meant to test was, according to the preamble, was the heat protection system on the re-entry vehicle. And he's about to say that it's a great success. Okay, let's take a listen. Oh, you can't hear any of this.
That signal, we started to get some debris on the cameras and everything, but we were able to see it. So, I mean, what a day.
Fringe, yeah. Okay, so landing on the moon in 6 months then, guys. Okay, I didn't get a chance in all of that excitement, which okay, I can listen a bit more, then I'll go through some super chats.
Got to see it under flap control through the atmosphere, and we got call out of our first ever ship landing burn after a launch into space. So, just really incredible.
Yeah, really incredible. These are very Soviet era definitions of success. Very Soviet era. Okay, let's go through some super chats. Hey, despite all the damage, it still managed to come to a somewhat soft landing. It did do a splashdown. I'll give it that. It did actually manage to hit the ground, or the ocean, technically. Re-engage smug mode. The burning made my day with your happy smile and the crowd cheering. It's Orwellian, very much so. I can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing. Oh my God, are they literally laughing about... Oh no, they're doing a promo.
Hey, may I?
Light me up. Yeah.
Yeah, apart from it's the other way around. It's the, it's the Starship that burnt up, guys, not the marshmallow. The Starship that burnt up. Thanks for what you're doing. If you can call me an influencer, thank you very much for that. What's this one? Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Arthur. I paused for like 2 minutes and hit live again. There's a hot spot on the wing and it's falling off. Yeah. So just so you know, the original idea of Starship is it wasn't going to have a heat shield at all. They were going to have active cooling, which is they're going to inject water through the skin of Starship to cool it down. And like I was saying, water is actually a pretty good way of dumping heat. But the thing is, there's a reason why people don't do it. And one of them is you've now got an active system. And if something goes wrong with the active system, like you get a leak in it, the whole thing burns up and everyone dies. So not so popular. On the plus side, if you could get it to work, then, you don't have to worry about re-inspecting the heat shield as long as you can inject water fast enough through it whilst you're coming through the atmosphere. SpaceX ditched all of that and basically went for making it space shuttle, but slightly bigger. Apart from, space shuttle made out of stainless steel, right? So the reason the space shuttle fell apart so quickly is it was made of aluminium. And so once you lose the thermal protection system, the space shuttle melts at about 700 degrees Celsius, that sort of thing. Relatively low, not even glowing red hot. And the space shuttle would have melted and its wings would have fallen off and that sort of thing. Stainless steel doesn't melt till like 1,200 degrees, that sort of area. But yeah, long before then, its properties will be completely trashed. In fact, now I think about it even further. This has shown that Starship is a complete non-starter. If you lose one of your thermal protection tiles, right, even if you manage to land the Starship intact, the hot metal will oxidize, and it'll become the oxide, and it'll become brittle, and you'll lose all the structural properties, meaning that you now have to basically replace the whole thing, because otherwise, the whole thing is now brittle for next time. So yeah, even if it doesn't catastrophically fail, every time you lose a tile, stainless it takes a lot more energy to get something up to 1,200 degrees. But once you've done it, it'll trash the material. They'll have some great video of inside, actually. It's a shame they didn't stream inside the Starship. You would have been able to see all these glowing red spots where the tiles are missing. And there will have been parts where it's just melted through and you're getting the hot gas coming straight into the Starship. There'll be lots of stuff like that they will have access to that we don't get to see, which is like, damn. Anyway, right, so back to the super chats. Burning up made my day. Yeah, back to Mars. Thank you, Richard. Wouldn't we have just been better off rebuilding the Saturn V? We can't, is the simple answer. A load of the craftsmanship that they used to make the engines just doesn't exist anymore. But the irony is the Saturn V could take, guaranteed. I didn't watch the noise of the SpaceX feed, but absolutely guaranteed they would have said this is the most powerful Starship ever, the most powerful rocket ever made, 3 times the thrust of the Saturn V. What they won't have covered is the Saturn V worked, and it actually could take more to lunar orbit than Starship can. Yeah, minor technical details. Musk's got a new commercial using AI to cut out the pregnant pauses from his status. That makes sense. At least Elon Musk has all those semi-sales to fall back on. Yep, he's going to have 50,000 truck sales by 2024. Oh! Oh my God, I am such a boomer when it comes to these interfaces. And salute, sir. How's this gone up to the end? Okay, yeah, I think we're mostly done at that. So, yeah, many thanks to the US taxpayer for spending all of this money to give us the most expensive sparkler display in history. Hang on, someone says, why Starship? Why not improve on Falcon Heavy? The irony being is, it's basically down to Musk. Apparently, Musk wanted to just cancel Falcon Heavy altogether, and Gwynne Shotwell said, no, you can't. We have contracts already for Falcon Heavy. We cannot cancel it. But Musk's impulse control is not so good. It's interesting that he only ever appeared on the end of the stream when it was... I'm pretty certain that it was like, yeah, if it's a catastrophic fail, we're not showing Musk in the control room. If it goes okay. And, on the grand scheme of things, they got the booster back, which is the more expensive part of the rocket, but the top stage doesn't work and it can't take anything to orbit. And they're blowing $2 billion a year on it. And even the SpaceX faithful think that it's going to be years before it can do anything useful. And when it can do something useful, there is no market for it. Yeah. Hey, they got the cameras back. They did well. Unfortunately, he's parked in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So, remember, the Earth is flat. Jesus is real. Blah, blah, blah. Thunderfoot Cope is insane. Yeah, the sparkler display was awesome. I've got to admit, when he said scale like no one else has ever achieved ever before in humanity, I didn't realize it was making the world's biggest sparkler. Well, what have we got? Yeah, as a taxpayer, I enjoyed your expensive joke. Thank you, Richard. Funny face. Same video on the crowd twice. Cope. Lots of spam. Spam can go into timeout. No spam. You can be a jerk, but don't spam it. Okay, I think we're more or less done for this. Thunderfoot. SpaceX uses modified GoPros on their rockets and their live feeds. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, cameras these days are bloody awesome. You just take a look at your average smartphone. They have phenomenal cameras on, and whatever, they're smaller than your thumbnail. If they're using GoPro, I seem to remember actually the engineering cameras on the thing that landed on the surface of Mars. Those might have been GoPros or modified somewhat. I'm not sure. Why would they replace the heat shield? They could replace the heat shield with whatever those cameras were made from. That's quite funny. I like that. There's a big GoPro, possibly. When are you going to revive your second channel? I still want to do that. Yeah, so I do have a second channel called Voice of Thunder, which, yeah, I definitely ought to start doing stuff on that again. Self-flying spaceship, quite right. No better than Elon, blah, blah, blah. 300 kilometers per hour to 0 kilometers per hour in 1 second. Yeah, the crew might need to roll their knees around to survive the impact there. Never get tired of seeing the Muskers, Trumpers, and Flat Earth setting themselves up for a fail with such enthusiasm. Me too. In fact, I feel the need now. For one of my upcoming videos, I will actually melt some stainless steel with a blowtorch. Just so we can all fully appreciate just... Like, Starship weighs, what, the upper stage is 100-ish tons? 100 tons of stainless steel on its own is fairly expensive. And it's probably the first time in history anyone has burnt that much stainless steel. There's some fun stuff you could do with that. How about you build a rocket, thunder, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Just write me the check for how much taxpayer money has Musk had so far? I mean, it's $3 billion alone for the sparkler that you've just seen, and if you actually check out their total funding, it's been like $2 billion a year for 6 years or something. They've had like $15 billion off the government or something. For and what have we got? At what point does the atmosphere start to cool the spaceship instead of heating it? It's actually relatively low. So you get the fantastic light show is relatively high up, but you get virtually no deceleration from it, and it looks very impressive, but there's nothing there. I think the bit when you go, it's like 60 kilometers or something, and it very rapidly goes from the heat shield is basically all plasma, and relatively quickly it goes to blue sky. There is, I think it's one of the it's the re-entry from the Artemis mission. So they have the entire re-entry looking back up. So it's the sort of typical blunt object re-entry vehicle, and they have a camera looking back. So at first you see nothing, and then you get this beautiful plasma. The orange plasma that you get here, and then it goes into this ripply blue plasma, which looks absolutely amazing. And it's over a relatively short period of time. It's like 10 or 15 seconds or something. It goes from that and the sky being black to there being no plasma and the sky being blue. And I think it's about 30 kilometers. It's been, these aren't intuitive numbers. Trying to work out. There's lots of things that are changing while all this is going on. Phil Nye, the Musk bust guy. Thank you, Tony. And wow, smooth and. Vincent, the trend of space is the trend in space is always crazy to me. When I was in commercial air, double redundancy and a 1 in a billion model chance of failure was standard. Yeah, so Boeing has rewritten the book on that a little. And also the Musk fans have gone from SpaceX is amazing, no one has revolutionized things as much as Musk to, if you actually tackle a lot of them now, it's better than Boeing. Yeah, Boeing, the people whose doors fall off their aircraft. This is not bragging rights anymore. First time watching you live, love it. Thank you, Warstow. Yeah. And Tesla stock dropped like Starship today. I've not checked out Tesla stock today. So it's one of those things. It's detached from reality. The Tesla stock. And Senator, right? What we need to do the next couple of flights. Getting on track with the program. You probably can't. In that, this whole rapid iteration thing is, you can't do that with billion-dollar vessels or things that cost this much to make. You're basically throwing them away every time. They're, how close are they to recovering the booster and recovering the upper stage? And even at that, you're nowhere close. You've got to work out how to refuel in space. You've got to work out how to fire your engines multiple times in space. They've not even touched on the tricky stuff like keeping humans alive in space in this. I mean, as far as I know, the only starships they've flown to orbit haven't been airtight. So, and humans will never fly on this thing because there is no emergency abort system. So it's never going to be human rated. It is very difficult to see how NASA has not lost the moon with this. I mean, the only potential hope is Blue Moon. And honestly, I've not looked into too much of the details there. Mainly because, I debunk bullshit merchants. I will be happy actually when Musk does go bankrupt, which maybe sooner rather than later. In part because vindication. For years, I took shit over the Hyperloop, busting the Hyperloop and the loop and the tunnels and the supersonic vertical takeoff and landing in airplanes and the self-driving and and even the simple stuff like the reuse of the rockets. People said, "Oh, you were wrong about." Yeah, look, they reused the rockets. It's like reusing the rockets was never the tricky bit. The tricky bit was building a economy out of that. Yeah, imagine cooking for Musk. It's this weird cultural phenomena is people basically throwing themselves in front of bullets for billionaires who, yeah, lemmings, protecting billionaires. It's such a weird phenomena. SpaceX fans was cheering Elon until we get something comparable to, yeah, it's not going to be human rated anytime soon. Anyway, guys, it was interesting. It was interesting. So let's go back to, let's see if it's still there. Let's go back to 2023. No. Hey, where's 2023? There we go. We're 2023, when Starship had successfully taken the first paying customers around the moon on Starship and returned them safely to Earth. By the way, the re-entry when you come back from the moon would have been even faster. It's significantly faster. It's like 20% faster, which is, I don't know, 50% more energy or something. And just so you know, the maiden voyage, the maiden flight of Apollo, tested the heavy lift rocket, and then they accelerated the command module up to the velocity that it would have had when it was coming back to the moon to actually test the heat shield on the lunar re-entry velocity. And they did all of that on the maiden voyage before Elon Musk was even born. Yeah. So, completely revolutionary. And someone says, Rocket Lab, hear the goalpost, hear that? It's goalpost moving at orbital speed. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, guys, it was fantastic. Thank you very much for enjoying the world's biggest sparkler with me. I will have a video up sometime. Thank you for all the super chats. I will have a video up about the world's first cancelled flight around the moon. Notice regarding the cancellation of Dear Moon, not happening anymore. And if you can't go around the moon, what does this say about the plans to actually get this thing to land on the moon? Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.